Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new day of Road to TCG World 2019. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been quite a weekend over at the Latin American International Championship. I'm sure you guys heard all about it. There were a lot of interesting things, a lot of unfortunate things, which I'm sure you've heard about my situation. And in the end, ZOROCONTROL was the deck that ended up becoming the champion. Daniel Altavilla, he's already gotten a regional win this season, and now he went on to win the first international championship of the season with this incredibly good and incredibly frustrating to play against Zorg Macargo control deck. So we have, of course, Zorg GX, the deck's main engine. We have it has 210 HP, has the ability trade, and then once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card and you draw 2 cards. Now, why is the attack good? I mean, why is the ability good? Because it gives you card access, and this deck's main purpose is not to win by taking 6 prizes. It's actually trying to win by bringing your opponents down to 0 cards in their deck. Now, the attack righteous beating deals 20 damage for each of the Pokemon you have in play, so up to 120 damage. It's not going to come into play too often, realistically, but it is an attack that you can use once you run your opponent out of energies. Then you can actually win a game by continually using righteous beating. Now, we have the 1/1 line of Macargo. Macargo's ability Smooth Over allows you to search your deck for any card, put it at the top, and then you draw it with Zorg's trade ability. Not super important to have Macargo out because you're going to have between 3 to 4 Zorgs out every game, or that's the goal at least. But sometimes in the early game it can be very useful. Towards the later stages of the game, where you actually have no cards in your deck left other than the ones you are putting back with Oranguru, Macargo ends up being not too useful. Now, Oranguru is there for resource management, where you put 3 cards from your discard pile to the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is how we are going to use things like Crushing Hammer, Plumerias, Team Skull Grunts, things like that, in order to be able to limit everything that our opponent is trying to do. Now, we also have a one-off Ditto Prism Star. Its ability Almighty Evolution is amazing because it lets Ditto evolve into any stage 1 Pokemon, so you're essentially playing 5 Zeruas, 2 Slugmas, and even an Alolan Grimer, right? We have Alolan Mach because Alolan Mach does stop things like Oranguru, and therefore we can easily beat things like Gramble with which rely heavily on the Macargo plus Oranguru combo to get them down to 0 cards every single turn. Yeah, and then we also have the one-off inclusion of Sableye with its limitation attack. Your opponent can't play any supported cards from their hand during their next turn, which is really good, because if at some point the game is close and they're running low on their deck, but you know they have some outs to perhaps replenish their deck with Cynthia, or try and find a Guzma to get out of the lock, you can use limitation in order to force them, or to prevent them from playing those supporter cards rather, and therefore you deck them out by having something trapped in the active. Now, we also have the one-off Articuno GX. Its ability Legendary Ascent. When you play Articuno onto your bench, you can promote it, you can make it your active Pokemon, and then you drag any water energy that you might have in play onto this Pokemon if you'd like to. And then we are playing Rainbow Energy, so we can drag up some energy, and we can use Ice Wing if we really wanted to, but that's not the idea behind Articuno GX. The idea behind Articuno is to use Cold Crush GX. You discard all energy from both active Pokemon, and that way it's another way to limit your opponent's energy. Yeah. 4 Crushing Hammer, 2 Enhanced Hammer, 2 Plumeria, and 2 Team Skull Grunt are the ways in which you are going to try to run your opponent out of energy, because after they're out of energy, then they actually can never attack you, and therefore you are free to either win by taking 6 prizes or by decking them out, because you will never lose by deck out thanks to Oranguru. Now, other than that, we have 4 Elm, 4 Cynthia, and 4 Timer Ball, along with Full Troll for maximum consistency. We also have the Double Tapu Lele to search for those consistency supporters early on, or search for the disruption supporters later in the game. We have 2 Lysander Labs. They really help out in the Malamar matchup, which does rely on escape boards. We have the one-off Choice Band in case we need the extra damage, although that actually doesn't seem right, so I'm gonna double check that. I don't recall them playing the choice band, so that might be a mistake on my part. I'm just gonna double check really quickly. I'm probably missing a card. Yeah, that choice band should be a Pulpad, Rescue Stretcher. Why do I have that extra choice? Okay, the choice band is definitely not in there. Okay, one Rescue Stretcher, one Pulpad. Oh, I'm missing the Max Potion. I don't know why I had the choice band there. The deck definitely has one Max Potion. That should be the list. Max Potion plus a Sorola makes it so that your opponent cannot take prizes. Gladian makes it so that any key card you might need from your support, from your prize cards, you can actually have access to thanks to Gladian. Pulpad helps us reuse some supporters before we go into the resource management loop. Rescue Stretcher, same thing. We get back some Pokemon that we might need. On a Alolan Mog that might have been, well, we can never recover a Alolan Mog, but rather like just setting up more Zoroarks is the likely usage of the Stretcher. Double Counter Catcher, because that way we can Plumerian Counter Catcher, delaying our opponent's strategies and forcing them to have something awkward in the active spot. And basically this deck tries to create a lock where if your opponent plays down energy, then you have a lot of ways to remove them, and if they're not playing energy, then you cannot actually attack the energy if they're holding them in their hand. Yeah, and because of how the game is structured, you also have to be very careful with what they bench, because most decks are not running even 4 Guzma sometimes, but even if they're running 4, they don't have infinite Guzma, so they will eventually run out of ways to switch. So you can trap a Macargo active, you can trap an Oranguru, and this deck does prey on, I guess, unsuspecting opponents. Yeah, unsuspecting opponents in which are not as prepared to deal with this deck, because if your opponent flips over as Zorua before this tournament, your first immediate thought would not have been to consider ZOROCONTROL, right? After this tournament, when you see Zorua, this is the first thing you're going to think of, because it did just win the biggest tournament, not the biggest tournament, but the most prestigious tournament of the season so far. Yeah, so just something to keep in mind. And so, yeah, your ideal setup is having a bunch of Zoroarks, having the Macargo perhaps, and then using all of the resource denials, such as the Counter Catchers, the Crushing Hammers, the Enhanced Hammers, and the Plumerias in order to prevent your opponent from attacking, therefore they cannot get prizes, and you eventually run them out of resources, and thanks to resource management by Oranguru, you actually never run out of resources, and Zoroark gets you all the cards that you need to keep denying whatever your opponent tries to do. Yeah, so all of those factors combined into this deck winning the first the first international championship of the season. We do have Roanoke this weekend, so I do expect this deck to be heavily played, and I do expect some direct counters to it to be played as well. Now, how do you counter this deck? Well, adding Energy Switch to Blacephalon is a pretty good idea. Playing Switch in Malamar rather than Escape Boards is also a good idea. Yeah. There are various ways in which decks can adapt to battle this deck, but there are also other ways in which this deck can adapt to battle the counters, right? So perhaps running Girafarig could be a good idea. Perhaps running Faba for the mirror match could be a good idea. Yeah, there are many things that can be tweaked into this list. And now that we know this is going to be the focus of Roanoke, you can use that information to your advantage. And so I will only be profiling this deck. I honestly don't look forward to playing games with this deck. It's just not my playstyle. It's not my favorite playstyle. I recognize how strong it is. I just don't particularly enjoy playing it. And yeah, so that will be all for the video, guys. I should be back to streaming sometime soon. I just need to recover a little bit from the Latin American Championship, both emotionally and physically with all the travel. But yeah, I'll be back soon. Don't forget to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. Leave all your supporter jokes down below, because I know that's gonna be the next 6 months for me at least. So yeah, I will see you guys on a stream or perhaps in the next video. Thank you.